We are delighted to have Shannon Miller joining us today. 7-time Olympic medalist, Shannon is the only female athlete to be inducted into the US Olympic Hall of Fame twice. She has broken many records and has won an astounding 59 international and 49 national competition medals. Over half have been gold. But Shannon's accomplishments go beyond the field of sports. After retiring from Olympic competition, Shannon studied marketing and entrepreneurship at the University of Houston and then law at Boston College. In 2010, she launched her company which seeks to empower women to make their health a priority through education and awareness. In 2011, Shannon was diagnosed with a rare form of ovarian cancer. She had the baseball-sized tumor removed successfully and followed up with an aggressive chemotherapy regimen. She has remained open and public about her diagnosis and treatment. Shannon is currently cancer-free and continues to be a strong advocate for early detection. It's great to have you with us, Shannon.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have so many things to talk about today, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the Olympics. Many of us remember you as part of the Magnificent Seven, the first women's Olympic team to win Olympic gold for the USA, and of course, your gold medal on the balance beam, the first for a US gymnast. What stands out most for you from your time at the Olympics?
Oh my goodness, that's a long list. It's been such an incredible journey for me with my competitive career in gymnastics. And I look back, and certainly the Olympics were a highlight in Barcelona in 1992, and of course the Olympics in Atlanta in 96. And of course the gold medal moments, those always will stand out. But I would say the thing that I look back and I treasure the most are the friendships that I made along the way, not only with my team, where I grew up, but my world championships teams, Olympic teams, but also athletes around the world that are still good friends today. So it's lovely to have that bond that you can kind of carry with you 25 years later. We just celebrated the 25th anniversary of the 96 Olympics last summer, and it was fun, but I think it's starting to make us feel a little bit old now.
Well, so great to hear about your friendships from the Olympics. You went from being an Olympian to going through a very difficult cancer diagnosis just years later. Can you share about how you were diagnosed?
Absolutely. I think it's important to try and share our stories. For me, as you mentioned, I launched my company devoted to women's health in the summer of 2010. Not to leave the men out, I just don't know as much about you. But that fall, I was doing a lot with regard to the importance of cancer prevention, getting to your regular exams, getting any tests and scans that were available, all of those good things. And I was feeling really kind of overwhelmed in a positive way, but I had called up and almost skipped my own doctor's appointment. But I thought better of it because I felt like I needed to walk the walk as an advocate for health. And I went in that morning to my doctor's appointment, and it changed my life. In about a 10-minute span, my doctor found a baseball-sized cyst on my left ovary. And that sent me into this whirlwind of tests and scans. And by January of 2011, I was waking up to find out that yes, the mass was cancer. It was a rare form of ovarian cancer, but they had caught it early. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later I found out that it was a higher malignancy than they originally thought. And I would need to go through this pretty aggressive chemotherapy regimen. And I think at that point, something in my mind kind of shifted. You go from this wait and observe period that many of you know about, and it's horrific to wait to find out what's going on in your body. Here I was, this athlete. I had been this athlete for much of my life. My job was to know exactly what was going on in my body at all times, and there was such a loss of control at that point. And I think after the diagnosis and learning that I would need to take on this chemotherapy, I think I reverted back to some of that competitive mentality I knew through sport. I didn't necessarily know where I was going to end up, but I knew I could get up and I could focus on something each day, and it just really started to feel a little bit more empowered in what would come next. I think as an athlete, and I'm sorry if the picture is frozen a little bit, but I think as an athlete, I really understood how to listen to my body. And I think that's what I would have done differently prior to the diagnosis. I would have listened to my body. You mentioned symptoms. I went in and told my doctor I felt fine, but what I didn't realize that I had been experiencing 3 of the 4 primary symptoms of ovarian cancer, but I had brushed them off as if they were no big deal. I had really bad stomach aches that I just kind of felt like I needed to power through and keep going. I had people depending on me. I had to get things done. I had bloating, which any woman deals with on a regular basis. And then I had sudden weight loss, which for me, I thought that I was just still losing baby weight. So I didn't feel like it was a concerning thing. I think the lessons I learned through sport were so important. Things like a positive mental attitude, which isn't always easy, but it's definitely helpful in the journey. Goal setting, some of my goals were not that big, but for me, my goal was usually during chemotherapy to walk 2 times around the dining room table. That was a really good day. I think teamwork is really important. Many of us feel like we have to do this by ourselves. We don't want to burden anyone else. We don't want to complain, but it's really important to surround yourself with a positive team, not just the medical, but friends, family, neighbors that are willing to help out.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear you talk about your body so openly, talk about your symptoms. I know that a lot of people struggle to do that. Did you ever struggle to talk about those symptoms with your doctor, to talk about your body with your doctor, and do you have any words of advice to offer those who might struggle?
I don't think it's easy for anyone. It's not fun going to the doctor, waiting in the waiting room, putting on the paper gown, sitting on the cold table. It is intimidating. And many of us have a zillion other things that we need to be accomplishing. And so you're trying to get in and out quickly. And I fight that urge even now, but I also now take steps to ensure that I make every doctor's visit really count. So I do things like, if I have an issue that's lasting more than 2 weeks, I write it down. I write down the dates and I write down kind of what's going on so that when I see my doctor, I'll be able to give specific information.
That's really good advice. Writing down symptoms, remembering what's wrong, and not ignoring what's happening in your body when you feel like something's not the way it usually is. And you've shared so much about how you felt when you were diagnosed, the period waiting to know your results. But after the diagnosis, how did that change your outlook on life?
I think my outlook, I've always been very goal-oriented. So every time I hit a goal, I would be on to the next one almost immediately. After I won 5 Olympic medals at the 1992 Games, I was in the gym 3 days later because I wanted to set that next goal and go after it. I think my cancer journey has showed me the importance of stopping and smelling the roses and really appreciating every moment that I have.